Let's respect the troops, Joe, and podcast on Veterans Day. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management. If you want to figure out Dave Doeren's record against teams like Wake Forest, teams like Duke, teams like Boston College, and the like, there's a really easy way to do it. Put it all up at the cloud. Print it out if you need to make it stark, black and white. Ooh, this is not great. It wasn't great on Saturday, Joe. Although you had a great experience at Carter Finley Stadium for an otherwise craptacular day against the Blue Devils.
I had a really good day on Saturday, starting in the parking lot.
Yeah.
We're walking in, the fam is walking in, and Brant stops me.
Mm-hmm.
And at first he goes, "Hey man, I'm making quesadillas." And I go, "Ooh." And then he goes, "No, wait." And he pulls out this big box of brown liquor, including the Blantons.
Nice.
Keep in mind, it's like 11:45. And I knew I was doing the after dark.
Yeah.
And I knew you would not be there to shepherd me and carry me. So I made the executive adult decision. I said, I cannot do it. I said, hopefully it won't be a brown liquor kind of day. Well,
it was.
Man, was I wrong.
A programming note. We had an insane amount of OG sports phone calls, and we will get to
because
those.
It was a brown liquor.
It was a brown liquor day, and we will get to those in Hey Joe. I just want to let you know your calls. I saw them. I was sitting in the Wilmington Polar Ice House getting email notifications that we had yet another voicemail or a text and all that kind of stuff. And in fact, I got a text from a 984 number. Went to the state game and a quick haiku. Another fall down. Leaves and pack, wither and fall. Could be worse. Go Pack. Left early, been hanging out on the back porch with the dog. And he sent a picture of his back porch. Nice fireplace. Dog watching Alabama LSU because Jalen Milroe likes to take it out on LSU. Woo. Goodness gracious. Anyway, like I said, a lot of sports phone calls. We'll get to those at Hey Joe at the end of today's podcast. I just want to make sure people understood. I received them. We will play them. There's a lot to work through. And I think that's kind of where I was at. Full disclosure, I caught the first half of the game on the radio out in Wilmington. And when Matt Chazanow, the play-by-play voice for the Wolfpack, is already calling out the fact that NC State's offensive game plan was being easily sniffed out by Manny Diaz's defense, I went, ooh, are we on deck for a Dave Doeren special? Now, down 5-0, which is, the most NC State thing ever. I thought to myself, yeah, I got a feeling this is going to be a repeat of what had happened last year with Duke, where Dave's going to come out and do the whole we beat ourselves business because offensive line play was bad. They got sniffed out quickly on defense. CJ Bailey had a freshman game in combination with some anemic offense as well. And I think you and I had texted, and when I had checked in the second half and I saw the score was 12-12, and I just texted you, yeesh, State, and you hit me up with, Dave's trying to win this damn game 15-12. And here's the problem with that. And I know we got our Duke football fans out there, and I want to make this abundantly clear. If you tried to do that against this Manny Diaz team, you have not been paying attention to a Manny Diaz team all season long. That is a dereliction of coaching from NC State because Manny is absolutely comfortable, as he has shown you all year and he has talked about, absolutely comfortable with that kind of game. And if that's how Dave wanted to go about it, Duke was going to take advantage of it. And that's exactly what they did. And as much as I want to give credit to Duke's defense, once again, Malik Murphy in the offense does enough. Does enough. Yes, I know that Duke was 0 on third down conversions.
Well, you can't blame the fans.
You can't blame the fans
0 for 9.
on that.
They clearly made enough noise on third down.
So you can't blame fans for that. And the defense did step up in certain situations, but bad field position and given the opportunities, Malik Murphy and that offense were going to take advantage of those opportunities. So when you think you're going to win this game on field goals, it's like, Dave, have you not learned lessons, not just entirely of your entire career at NC State, but this season alone? Okay. You had a 10-point lead against Wake Forest. And you thought, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to sit on this bad boy. How'd that work out for you? And then now you find this with all these dynamic playmaking offensive players you went and acquired, and you saw the proof of concept against Stanford. And I don't care how bad Stanford is, right? I don't care how bad Stanford is. You show, hey, I can get creative. We can do X, Y, Z, but you freaking turtle in these situations, and you get what you had the day you deserved. And that's people like the Southernisms, bless your heart, but there's another one that's actually underrated and somewhat better. You got the day you deserved. And when you decide that you're going to try to win this game the Dave Doeren special way against that Manny Diaz team, well, you're going to lose. And this is a credit to Manny Diaz and this Duke staff. And in a weird sort of way, the last 2 years, really the last 3 years, Duke has played football the way that Dave Doeren wants to play football. So somebody needs to explain to me how Duke, okay, has better ability to execute on their game plan, get players in the portal. Like, I think you said this on the After Dark. How in the world are we in year 12 with NC State, and it seems as though Wake Forest has got better playmakers than you? We're year 12 with Duke, or year 12 with Dave Doeren at NC State, and how is that Duke already looks like they've got some better pieces than you? And then you get into the coaching stuff, and here we are. And Dave is looking at it went from a disappointing season to potentially disastrous season, because not only do you lose to Wake Forest with a 10-point lead, not only do you get sunned by Duke at your building when it looked like things were going to be turned around, it's entirely possible you lose to North Carolina at the end of the year. And you can't sit here and tell me after a year of hype and NIL and Savage Wolves and all this other stuff that people are going to, when you go back to them, say, hey, guys, it's time to re-rack this bad boy. And you're going to go, so explain to me why we need to give you money when you went 0-for-3 against the Big Four? Explain that to me. So, look, Dave has already done a bad enough job cultivating the fan base. Results can overcome that. He doesn't have the results to stand on his back and forth with the fans at this point after 12 years, especially after Saturday. Sorry. I've been sitting on that since Saturday. So there we are.
Yeah, the football game was lost in the third quarter. It's 12-9.
Yeah.
And here comes the Pete Carroll, smack your gum, galaxy brain. Hey, you know who we got in the portal last year and who was really good against us? And now he's playing his old team. We got to make sure that Jordan Waters is the hero here.
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 2 from the 7 going in. And they run the zone stretch to Waters, who stopped for no game. Now it's 4th and 2. It's the third quarter. It's 12-9. He trots out Vineset to kick a field goal. And right there, that was not Duke Energy from last year. That was the bowl game where he purposely tried not to win the football game and would rather have Chris Dunn set in. I'm being serious.
No, I know.
He thought that they were going to win 15-12.
Yeah.
Now, this was their best defensive effort of the year, but that play call on 3rd and 2 to Waters was the worst single call you could have dialed up in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes, CJ Belly was having a struggle. He was running too much. He was panicking too much. Totally get that.
Yeah.
You got to roll the kid out, give him some options, and give him a chance. Giving the ball to Waters on that play was the equivalent of quitting in the middle of the football game. Okay. So Robert and he needs to go. And we can get into a longer conversation about Dave being the actual problem with coordinators. Yes. But straight up, that play call was quitting on the football game. Mm-hmm. All right. That's number one. Number two, let's talk about past performance does not equal future results. Mm-hmm. And Bill Belichick, I remember, famously came to their pro day in 2017 when they had the really good class. And I remember, and I even sent this to Dave as a present from Ethan Hyman, my friend at the News and Observer. I had a great picture of Bill Belichick and Dave Doeren in a candid moment at the Close King practice facility. And I sent it to him because I said, if I was standing next to the best to ever do it, I'd want a picture of that too. Printed copy, okay? Past performance does not equal future results. I have been big this year on Kevin Concepcion being a problem for this football team. Mm-hmm. He has been a problem for this football team. And they have 3 people who they spent their most money in. And 2 of them they all apply to past performance does not equal future results.
Sure.
Number 1, Kevin Concepcion. Number 2, Aiden White, who was charged for a touchdown in this game. Okay. And then number 3 is obviously the quarterback position, Grayson McCall. We don't need to relitigate that right now. Here's the thing about Dave Doeren going forward. Okay. Dave Doeren, let me be clear, in 12 years has earned the right to be the NC State's football coach next year. Okay.
Yeah.
They can lose out. They can lose by 100 to Carolina.
Yeah.
He has still earned the right to be NC State's football coach next
Agree
year.
with you on that.
Okay. But what he needs to figure out going forward is, what do you want to be going forward? This is the truth. Because your strength is finding and developing players. All right. Your strength is not in the games. Your strength has not been in NIL and roster management decisions with your money. So those two things, one of them needs to change overnight. One of them. And I'm guessing that being good in games is not going to change overnight. So you got to figure out your roster management and who you're paying and who you're not paying. I'm not saying it's easy. Look at Florida State. I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not pretending that it's easy, but positional value, replacement value, wins above replacement. Please, you have a general manager. Please hire someone who can help you explain to you these concepts, because you wasted your money on positions this year and duplicated money at positions this year that you did not need to duplicate. And that is why you find yourself in the situation that you're in. Now, 2 more things. Dave will be 53 in December. So in about a month, in less than a month, he'll be 53. He has $16 million on his buyout. Again, he has earned his right to be the coach next year at NC State. I don't. There is not a scenario where I see Boo Corrigan replacing Dave Doeren.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
However, there is a scenario where Dave Doeren potentially decides, like Tony Bennett did, I don't want to do this anymore. Make the face, but there is the scenario. Like Tony, he has found religion later in his adult life. Like Tony, he's very content in his family and the time that he gets to spend with them.
That's fair.
Like Tony, he does not like to suffer anyone's outside bullshit. Mine, the media in general.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have in-person press conferences. Okay?
Right.
So you talk about Tony not willing to be somebody who goes out and presses the flesh. He doesn't even have press conferences.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So at 53, and with more than enough generational wealth, he might decide, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. He might make that decision. Because if someone else hadn't explained it to him, I just did. Here is your path forward. If you can't figure out your roster management, then there's no way you're going to be successful moving forward. Now, you can chalk up this whole year to you screwed up with the people that you paid, or B, maybe you didn't have enough money to pay all the people that you wanted to.
You didn't have enough money, but you know that at NC State. There are no surprises.
These are things that you know.
These are things that you know at NC State. These are not surprises when it comes to this.
Ultimately, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
Dave is 4-5 against Boston College. Dave is now 1-3 against Duke. There is not a single reason in the world that Dave Doeren should have a 1-3 record against Duke. He is the other damning one. Wake Forest 6-6. Dave Clawson is the best coach in the ACC, so I can at least excuse that.
No, you can't.
I can.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely freaking not.
Sometimes guys got your number.
Well, no, but if you're
Duke's different coaches. He lost to 3 different coaches.
Right. Okay, so there's that issue, number one. All right. So here's the other issue. When you bring up Wake Forest and why I say that's unacceptable. Okay. Under no circumstances. All right. You want to say Dave Clawson's the best coach in the ACC, and I understand your point when it comes to Dave Doeren, and he's not necessarily going to win games on the football field, but you have way more resources at NC State than you do at Wake Forest. You have much. You do.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. You have the fan support. You've got
more fan support for sure.
You have more fan support. You have more money.
You don't have more money than Wake Forest. You don't. I'm serious.
You also have the ability to get guys in there and play the game that Dave Clawson never wanted to do.
Correct.
So there's all those types of things. All right. And
that gets back to who are you picking?
Well,
right.
That also gets.
They both had a Chubb brother, so they both kind of figured some of those things out.
There's also the fact too that if you know you're not going to get it on the football field, you can at least do it in development. And I think that's where you and I both come back to and agree. And that I completely agree with you. And I've been screaming this for the last couple of years. Actually, this conversation should have started 3-4 years ago. Who do you want to be? I know I jokingly call them the Iowa of the East Coast, but if that's what you're going to have to be, then you double down and you sell that. This is what we do. But Dave, look, man, I get it. You're trying to compete. You're trying to evolve. He's relatively young, so you still try to find ways to evolve, and you get caught up in last year, and you're looking at an opportunity. All right, man, let's keep this thing going. Let's ride this wave. Let's ride this momentum. It blew up in your face. Sometimes it happens that way, man. Look, I'm being fair here. Sometimes it happens.
In those two games, the Clemson and Tennessee game, I went into this year and I said this.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose those two games, this season has the potential to go sideways and quickly.
Agree.
And I said, now they had a bunch of coin tosses. And I said 5-7 and 6-6 were in play.
Mm-hmm.
I actually said it after the first half of the Western Carolina game.
Fair.
When it was evident that they were not going to be the team that they thought they were going to be.
Sure.
Okay. So now the question, the one thing Dave has been really good at is flushing seasons like this. He has been very good at that.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up because you bring up the Tony Bennett thing, and I'm not going to dismiss your correlation here or your analogy. But here's the difference between Tony Bennett and Dave Doeren. You know what Tony Bennett doesn't have that Dave Doeren does have? That is a sodium level that's way higher than Tony Bennett.
Correct. And Tony has a title. Multiple.
Yeah, Tony's got a title, but I don't feel like Tony doesn't seem like a guy who's fueled by fuck you energy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dave does. All right. Dave has that in him. Dave has that in him.
Do you know what the entire 2019 season was for Virginia, by the way?
It was a big FU season.
Okay. So you might want to slow down.
But here's the difference.
Who's got it?
But here's the difference between the two. Tony had a really freaking talented group that should not have lost the previous year.
Privately would say it, but would never do that publicly.
But Dave actually has that publicly. And Dave publicly likes to put it in your face too.
Yeah.
When they actually come out there and do, the whole freaking Steve Smith thing. Yeah. What's your basketball school now? Right. The cigars, all this stuff pointing to you. Oh yeah. You thought XYZ. You're a stubborn dude. Like all these things. There's that in him that tells me he is not going to retire at the end of the season.
Yeah.
He will be back to run it back to double down on his thing. I'm just pointing that out. This is where I disagree in that regard.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying to you, you have to keep these things on the brain, because at some point, and he has been vocal about the lack of guidance and the lack of control in all of this.
Yeah.
Like at some point, like I could sit here and I have bagged on the Casey and Aiden White decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest complaint all of these coaches has is the energy that they have to take to re-recruit their own roster.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And guess what he's going through right now with CJ Bailey?
He's got to do the same thing.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So all I'm suggesting to you is it's at least put it on your radar.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying just put it on your radar, but understand this. He's been his best in situations when things have gone to pot. Now this would be the third chance. And if it's a third chance, it also means it could be the third strike. So we'll see what he does. Because the fans are not happy. There's a huge portion of the fan base right now that's not happy. And it's not because of Tennessee and Clemson, even though it should be. It's not because of Tennessee and Clemson. It's because you're losing at home to Duke, Wake Forest, and Syracuse this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's absolutely no reason to lose all three of those games on your home field.
It crystallizes a point that I've been making about NC State for many years. You can get wrapped up in your division. You can get wrapped up against those non-conference games, as you mentioned. But really, the difference between NC State having good seasons instead of great seasons is because of games like Saturday. Good seasons become great seasons when you flip those Wake Forest games. Okay. And sorry, I got on a tangent as you were going down the record of these various teams that they should be. Like, what's the Syracuse record?
He's got a winning record against 4 teams that were in the league last year.
Yeah.
Syracuse 7-4. Of course, Carolina 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2-0 against Pitt, and he's 3-0 against Virginia. In the single biggest move that anyone should take offense to, they took App State off their schedule so that they could play Virginia in a non-conference game twice.
Yeah.
Well, there's the number for you: 3-0 against the Cavaliers.
NC State, the battle for Triangle Good. It looks like Duke is going to be the one that takes the title for Triangle Good. Well, they got Wake Forest coming up, so they got Carolina's got Wake Forest coming up this weekend.
No, Duke still plays Wake.
And they
too.
still play
Wake
Wake.
Can run the table here and then take it from them, but I don't see that happening. About Duke, real quick, you had said after the Florida State game, Manny was willing to basically let Florida State beat themselves.
Yes,
play defense, don't do anything dumb, let the other team beat themselves. Use the same strategy in this game. Again, I will marvel at Manny Diaz's ability to change who he was.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything you can take away from this, NC State fans, is that you have a coach who learned his lessons. Now, he had to go away to Penn State and get reformed by our guy, James Franklin.
Yeah.
Or, as our friend Debbie Yao likes to say, James. But he has learned his lessons. I didn't see anything dumb from Duke. None of the procedural penalties, none of the, after the whistle stuff that was a hallmark of his Miami teams. So the way that he has come into a situation now that Mike Elko set the table for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was a toughness there on defense. There was an ability there on defense, but two things. They did a really good job in the portal because there's a lot of players over there that they went and got. That's number one. And number two, they played with the old, and David Cutcliffe, the old Duke coach, the old Tennessee assistant, General Nealon's maxims. The team who makes the fewest mistakes wins the football game, while NC State was content to try to win 15-12. After Duke gets the ball back, they're the ones taking shots down the field. They're the ones successful scoring touchdowns and winning the football game. So congratulations to Manny Diaz. I'm sure even for him, this season has gone beyond his wildest imagination.
Yes, beyond it. He's just one short of the Manny Diaz revenge tour. Just
the one game.
Just one. He caught Miami at the wrong weekend. Eventually, playing with fire was going to blow up in Miami's face. And that's exactly what happened. And if only Georgia Tech could play top 25 teams all the time, then they'd be amazing.
Brent Key's now 6-1 against ranked ACC teams. 7-8 against unranked ACC teams. So good news, NC State. You get Georgia Tech in a week, and you're not ranked.
Hey,
so there's a chance. What you're saying is there's a chance.
What if I gave you a trade proposal?
I'll take this every day.
So this is the classic meme trade
every day,
offer
all day.
With the guy with the hand meme here. If you're watching on YouTube, he's got the little hands and whatnot. I receive NC State 74-69 over Duke on March 14th.
That would be in the ACC tournament.
And then NC State 76-64 on March 31st in the Elite Eight.
You go to the Final Four, yeah.
You receive Duke 29-19 in football.
This year.
And then 24-3 last year.
Yep.
You take that deal?
Done. Sold. Sold.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Eno Vana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Big thanks to those who have subscribed to OGTriangleMedia.com. If you're part of OG fans, you get things like an ACC Panic Room eventually. Yesterday got away from me in hockey dad mode, so we will have an ACC Panic Room coming your way later today. You can get an ACC Panic Room with me and Lauren Brownlow for as little as $13 a month. You can save if you buy for the year. So we appreciate everybody who has signed up.
That thing.
Yeah, Lauren has another reason to be happy too, because the Panthers won, which we'll get to here in a second. Of course, we've got OG Business, we got Canes coverage, we got all sorts of good stuff, including women's basketball coverage as well, thanks to Mitch Northrum. So all that's coming your way on OGTriangleMedia.com. Speaking of housekeeping, if you are new to the podcast, by all means, throw us 5 stars on your favorite podcast apps. Why we say 5 stars only, positive vibes only. If you're watching on YouTube with the premiere, leave some comments, hit the like buttons, get in the chat, all that stuff. Usually I'm monitoring when things on the premiere are going just to make sure everything's running right, but occasionally I'll get in there as well. So anybody who can rate us, review, all that kind of stuff, it helps with the algorithm, and we are beholden to the algorithm. Appreciate everybody who has left a review and has left 5 stars in the past. Salute to you. Positive vibes only. Speaking of positive vibes, Matt Davis is nothing but positive vibes. Check him out, insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277. Once he helps you save money on home and auto, then ask him if he can save you from going through your own archival stash of things to see if he has it. He might have a parking pass from a pivotal football game in 2013. I don't know. Matt Davis, I don't know what Matt Davis has in his attic. Yes, he has an incredible collection of old things. So when you save, maybe ask him about that. Speaking of incredible archival things, that is what our friends at Homefield have. Go to homefieldapparel.com, use that promo code OG24. You can save 15% off your order. If you've already used the promo code, no big deal. Homefield does have a lot of sales that happen every so often. I know they just got done with a site-wide sale. They'll probably have another one as we get closer to the holidays. In the meantime, go to homefieldapparel.com, use that promo code OG24 to save 15% off your order. Big thanks to Happy and Hail. You can check out their app. It makes it super convenient to order your food and pick it up and just go about your business.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hail.
So with the Canes, we'll get to it in the lightning round, but all streaks had to come to an end, Joe. It's okay. I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine in the grand scheme of things. And Rod gets to focus on yet another challenge that didn't go his way on interference, but that's the thing that he will always fight. It's like the old man yells at cloud, the Abe Simpson. That's Rod Brindamore when it comes to challenge replays. Anyway, big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer for sponsoring us as well. No traffic violations for me coming back from Wilmington. Maybe you find yourself with a traffic violation. They can help you out. Maybe you're Joe Giglio, who gets a traffic violation every other week. You can go to wh.lawyer. It's been a while. You've been on your best behavior.
I mean, seriously.
Check out wh.lawyer. Attorneys and counselors at law. They do more than that. If you're a small to medium-sized business, they can handle a lot of your needs. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Carolina Panthers, a.k.a. the NFL Reaper. They won another game, which means there must be consequences. When they beat the Raiders, some assistant got fired. Low stakes. Then they went out and they beat the Saints. Guess what happened after that?
Head coach got fired.
Dennis Allen got out the paint. Unacceptable. Because again, the reception to the Saints losing to the Panthers was, y'all, the lowly Panthers, that's unacceptable. And going to Germany, presenting to the Germans, hey,
Machine Gun Kelly singing Country Roads.
This is America for you. Two
What?
absolutely terrible football teams. Machine Gun Kelly, CGI graphics. That's why there's beer, because there's the only way you can enjoy football like that is to be pounding liters of amazing German beer, right? They beat the Giants in a very dramatic fashion. I think it had more to do with defense than anything else. Bryce Young was fine, but because they beat the Giants, well, the Mara family says there's no way in hell they're going to fire Brian Dable in the middle of a season. They're against that. A couple weeks ago, they said that, right?
Right.
Which
That's their history.
But what's the consequences? Well,
Somebody's got to go.
It's going to be Daniel Jones. That's what it's going to be. I did not realize this until the aftermath of the loss, because it's not like I'm really paying attention to Giants football. I mean, let's be real here. But the Giants have a contract with Daniel Jones that has a $23 million tab in injury guarantees for 2025. As Mike Florio at ProFootballTalk.com points out, at some point, they need to get him off the field to avoid owing him that money. So the season's a wrap. I mean, the Giants ain't making the playoffs. The NFC East is out of control.
Giants control the number one pick as we speak.
They do that too. So they've given it a go with Daniel Jones several times. We don't need to relitigate their offseason moves, Saquon Barkley being the biggest one. You're going to have to sit him, and those are the consequences because, you're not going to have to pay Daniel Jones $23 million in guarantees.
I watched the first. I do follow the Giants, and I watched the first half of this football game. And the only logical conclusion I can come to is that Brian Daboll wants to get fired. There was no reason to play Daniel Jones in the second half of this football game after what I saw in the first half of this football game.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Number one. And there was a flea flicker play where Brian Daboll was literally losing his mind, and Kurt Warner, I believe, was the color guy.
Yeah.
And the straight guy was trying to be like, I mean, Brian Daboll's over there like talking to himself, and Kurt Warner's like, yeah, I mean, the guy was wide open. And I'm like, hey guys, you're watching someone get fired in real time. In real time is what's happening.
Yes.
He knows he just lost his job. That's number one. Number two, and here's my hot take for you. And man, this is a brain bender. You remember when there were, I mean, who knows if it was more than just one GM, but there was at least a minority thought that Lamar Jackson would be a receiver in the NFL.
I mean, right.
And that he couldn't play quarterback because he wouldn't be good enough in the passing game.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to spell this out for you in very plain terms. Lamar Jackson's black. All the GMs and the decision makers and the owners, they're mostly white, and they were kind of sort of being racist.
What?
Do you know who?
No.
Do you know
racism in this country, Joe?
Do you know who actually is that quarterback who is only useful running the football? and cannot operate in a passing game.
Yeah.
A Daniel fucking Jones. Hey, what is his name? The old Panthers guy, Bill Polian.
Bill Polian.
The fucking droid you're looking for is Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's the guy who can only run.
Yes.
The only time he is effective is when they go Frank Gifford on his ass and go single wing, YA Tittle, follow your blockers. He is garbage. Garbage. I watched a half. Actually, I watched last week's too, but I watched a half and I knew that shit.
Yeah.
So, Brian Daboll, you get what you deserve, man.
Yeah. So there's all ways to spin this. The Panthers defense looked good.
Better.
Or came up with
better.
Well, there's a couple things with defense.
They were getting pressure.
So weird when you get healthier.
I was going to say, when you get new guys.
What?
The one from the Game of Thrones, the giant one. That guy was making plays. Clowney looked good. Robinson looked good.
Yeah. So when you're healthier, and also it doesn't matter if you're taking on a terrible team, okay? Because you look at where they were earlier this year. You look at the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams. They've certainly lost all the momentum they had earlier in the year, but that was more about the Panthers defense making a rookie QB look pretty freaking good. Obviously, that's fallen off a cliff. The point is they've been decimated with injuries on both sides of the ball. You're starting to get some key pieces back. You are seeing at least a semblance of a defense they want to run. Now, it helps that they're going up against an anemic offense, and as you just illustrated with Daniel Jones, but that's not the point. The point is they won. The other point is, as much as Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, the general manager, don't want to commit to Bryce Young, because I think what's going on here is they want to trade Bryce Young at the draft. Bryce Young is at least showing you some ability,
He's giving
ability.
you that glimmer.
It's there.
He's giving you that I can appeal to your ego that you're going to be on draft day when there are not great options.
Ding, 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 ding,
this
ding.
offseason, you're going to go, you know who I can actually fix.
Yes.
I can fix, because you're going to turn on that Sugar Bowl tape when he dotted Baylor or whatever bullshit team he was playing in the Sugar Bowl his last game.
Just say it.
And you're going to go, oh, that's the guy.
That's the Bama Bryce.
I can make him work.
That's all you need to help the Panthers out in terms of trade assets. Just look like there's something there. And I know the immediate takeaway is that there are glimpses of Bama Bryce. Was Bryce Young overwhelmingly great? No, he wasn't. But he also wasn't an abject disaster. And that's kind of where we're grading Bryce Young on a curve. It
helps when there is an abject disaster playing on the other side to give you the sample size.
It's not like the Panthers haven't played bad teams before where he ends up looking bad.
I understand.
So you have to grade all these things on a curve.
Oh, I apologize to Kansas State and Baylor. It was Kansas State who they dotted in that Sugar Bowl.
Sorry. Okay.
My
fair
bad.
enough. Fair enough. And I know after the game, Dave Canales, once again, would not commit to Bryce Young. They've got their bye week. They got their open week, and then they got the Kansas City Chiefs, which, of course, this does beg the quick tangent, because we're not going to spend that much time on the Chiefs. The Chiefs continue to do Chief things. I mean, they're very reminiscent of the New England Patriots, where it's like, what's the
They're not though.
What's the Breaking Bad meme? Like, how does he keep getting away with this? Well, that's exactly the Kansas City Chiefs. How do they keep getting away with this? Well, I remember not in like the years where they didn't win the Super Bowl, including the Randy Moss year, where they were otherworldly offensively. There were times where it was just preparation, coaching, and not making mistakes was all that you needed. And the Chiefs have found themselves in that situation. I saw some comparison to the Chiefs about how they were reminding us of the Eagles a couple of years ago, where they were beating up on a bunch of nobodies. I'm like, come on, are you really going to insult Andy Reid like that? Are you really going to insult Patrick Mahomes? There is an element of when the chips are on the table, who are you going to who are you going to bet on? I ain't going to bet on anybody else at this point. That's my point about the New England Patriots. It got to a point where everybody was like, this is it for the Patriots. Dynasty's over. I'm like, yeah, guys, at some point, as long as those two dudes are still on the field, I'm going to take my chances with them because they've proven it over and over and over again. I think the same thing is with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, which gets to the question. Can you envision a scenario where the Panthers are the ones that finally knock the Chiefs off? in 2 weeks.
Sure. Why not? I mean, the way that the Chiefs play, they keep everybody in the game. Now, I want to apologize to the Chiefs. I was about to tell you that the Patriots in 07 were a war machine.
No.
And they were at the beginning of the year. But then 3-point win over Philly, 3-point win over the Ravens, 3-point win over the Giants, which turned out to be a very important game. So it was not all champagne and roses for that unbeaten Patriots team that year. So I apologize to you in real time.
So the Panthers get their third win, which means we remove a third item of clothing off of Carolina Panthers owner
excited
David
for
Tepper.
this.
Who look, man, he was a man of the people in Germany.
He was
drinking liters
lots
of
of tabs, I
beer,
think.
all sorts of stuff. Good for him, man. He should be able to pick up some tabs. I know what he's worth. Wait a minute.
You put the shirt on him. I love it.
Wait a minute. I took his shirt off. I was supposed to get shirtless David Tepper. Are you telling me that David Tepper had a long sleeve button down underneath the tie-dye shirt?
Yes, cash. Super cash, Dave.
What?
Super cash billionaire.
Is there a tank top under that too?
Let me get that logo polo
Jeez.
button up.
Anyway,
Super cash.
let's go to the sports phone, shall we?
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
What? This is what it feels like to do radio after you get a bunch of phone calls, huh? Do you have time to go get a drink? I will get a drink. For the visual bit.
No, absolutely. At least hear this one.
Okay.
At least listen to this one.
Hey, Joe and Joe. It is currently 1:06 p.m. on a Sunday, and holy shit, the Panthers have won 2 football games in a row. Super Bowl is back on.
Let's not get crazy here. Well, I don't need to see the Wire meme where Stringer Bell has a Panthers hat saying, "Yeah, I want you to tell the streets we back up."
We're back up.
No, absolutely not. All right, do you want to go get a drink?
Yeah.
Go get some more coffee. I'll go play some more sports phone calls. While you go do that, by all means. All right, I think I had one from an 828 number, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can go find this 828 number. That
Hey guys, this is Luke from Durham calling in. Just sitting here watching the first offensive play of this Miami Georgia Tech game, and really struggling here because I'm kind of torn. That like analytics, logical part of my brain says that the Panthers should, trade out of wherever pick they get, try to accumulate some assets, best player available, go defense. But that boy good side of my brain just watches Cam Ward and says, fuck.
Here's what I will say about the Panthers and the draft and everything else. Don't take another quarterback. Just don't take another quarterback. Take the best defensive player available. There are so many other parts that need fixing. And I'm not convinced, and you're kind of seeing this right now across the NFL with quarterbacks. I mean, Caleb Williams is already off to a rough start, probably going to get that coaching staff fired at the rate things are going. We can go to Indianapolis. You want to talk about the dumpster fire that's taking place right now. This is Shane Steichen. After they had just lost another game, and Anthony Richardson is still on the sidelines. Game gets out of hand. They got Joe Flacco out there, and Shane Steichen's not backing off that.
Turn the ball over. You turn the ball over like that, it's going to be hard to win football games. Thought our defense played, pretty darn good, kept us in it, but obviously it wasn't good enough to get it done today. I didn't right there. Until I say otherwise right now, Joe's our guy right now.
So there you go. As far as we're concerned, Joe's our guy right now when it comes to that. And I bring this up, and I think the way that sports phone call just kind of leads me into this. Sometimes I think we get a little too, not sometimes, all the time. We focus on the team that we pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And when you only focus to the team that you pay attention to, you're thinking that when things are going badly, well, you're clearly the worst in the NFL right now. You're the worst team in sports. And it's all about bringing the same energy. This is actually something I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks when it comes to conversations like this. I wish sometimes people would just be consistent with the energy. It goes back to the State conversation.
Mhm.
When State wins and Dave Doeren has good seasons, we'll bring the energy about having a successful year. Bring the energy. And not just wait for the loss to be, vocal about everything, right? I think we're going to see the same thing with NC State basketball this year, right? Everybody was having a great time last year, and that energy was awesome, but people are going to go right back into their despair because they lose a random ass Wednesday game or whatever it is in the middle of the season. But I get off my point here as it relates to the Panthers. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that the Panthers are in some way, shape, or form some silver lining team. They're bad. And they've developed a reputation of being the worst team with the worst vibes in the NFL, to the point where, as I joked earlier in this segment, when you lose to the Panthers, somebody's getting fired. Something's going to happen after you lose to the Panthers. But when you take a look around, you're like, well, wait a minute. If you're so bad off that losing to the Panthers is the worst thing that can happen, well, what does that say about you, right? So you start to look at, well, the Giants situation, as you highlighted. Man, the Giants got some issues to work out. Look at Indianapolis. Everybody was high up on Anthony Richardson. You called them the scratch-off ticket.
Mhm.
That has completely fallen apart to the point where Shane Steichen, who was a wonder boy coaching candidate for a while there, you're looking at maybe some wholesale changes that are taking place in Indianapolis. Matt Eberflus is going to get his ass fired up in Chicago with how things are going with Caleb Williams right now.
Yep.
All right. So my point is, you can get wrapped up in what's going on with you. And I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to dismiss the issues with the Panthers. I'm not trying to act as though Bryce Young has been this brilliant QB all along. I'm simply pointing out, hey, there's a lot of bad situations out there. Look at the Jets, right? Look at the Dallas Cowboys, where we've hit such a nadir with Dallas Cowboys discussions that we're breaking glass in case of emergency. Yes, Jerry Jones cares so little about his actual team that he's going to build a stadium with a giant window that allows the sunset to glare and interfere with your own dang wide receivers. Now, I'm not saying the Dallas Cowboys were going to win that game yesterday against the Eagles, because the Dallas Cowboys are bad and the Eagles are on a heater right now. But it's illustrative of a point of, man, that's a clown organization. So we could clown David Tepper all day. We could, and we have. But hey, you know what? I don't think he's going to build a stadium that puts the sun directly into their wide receivers' faces, right? And then get dismissive when you ask him about that. It's like, we're not going to tear down the building. There's things called blackout curtains
that they use for concerts and other events.
But you won't use it for your own dang football team. That's some stubborn old man shit right there. So all that is to say, take a look around. There's a lot of bad situations, including the Carolina Panthers. They're not the only ones in a terrible situation. All right, let's see. We got what else do we have here in terms of the sports phone? Let me see. Do we have what do we got here? This is from an 804 number.
Hey, Joes. I'm a suffering Giants fan, but the ineptitude of the Panthers is still staggering. I mean, they came to Germany and played like a franchise that doesn't have a first-round pick or something. What were they thinking? The Giants have sure been terribly mismanaged over a decade, but at least they didn't do something as stupid as beating another 2-7 team and sacrificing their draft positioning. What idiots. By the way, I know Hornets fans are always calling for Steph to finish his career back in Charlotte, but if Tepper really wants to bring something to Charlotte and be a hero, he should bring Daniel Jones back home. Please take him. Get this Dookie off my team.
Big thanks to Roback. Check them out online at roback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use the promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. Now is the time to pounce, because that Griswold quarter zip for Christmas is fire.
Okay. Just making sure I secured the right one for you.
Yeah, so one with little reindeers on it.
Okay.
Did you see Ben this weekend?
I did. And I have to pass along a compliment to our people. Roback is they're a big supporter of other podcasts, like super gigantic, huge podcasts.
Yes.
And so when they have their meetings, they're a Charlottesville based company. They know who Pardon My Take and some of these other ones are, right?
Of course.
Well, it gets brought up in one of the meetings. Like, I have no idea who this Ovies and Giglio are, but they're moving some units for us. So good work down there in Raleigh. So good work to our listeners for taking care of us. Use that promo code OG20. OG20. And for everyone, I'm pretty sure I've emailed everyone, but for everyone who has ordered the OG Rowback swag, that order's been placed, and I will keep you guys posted on when that delivery will happen.
As I like to say, if you want to support us, you support our corporate champions who are helping fund this.
And you never know
endeavor.
when that compliment gets back to us, so we always appreciate.
So we do appreciate that. We appreciate everybody who understands the assignment. Speaking of understanding the assignment, sometimes you need to understand the assignment and get to the gym. O2fitnessclubs.com is the way to go. You got to understand the assignment. When your pants ain't fit, like I got to go to a bar mitzvah in a couple of weeks, and I realize I have no actual decent pants. Now, why is that, Joe?
The pandemic? Are we still there? Or
No. That's old news.
Can't use that one anymore.
It's called I'm getting old, and I got to eat better, and I got to take better care of my body. That's why.
I think O2 Fitness can do all of those.
So go to O2fitnessclubs.com. I'll be working up a sweat later today over at Seaboard. But it's not just, we mentioned Seaboard a lot because that's our most convenient one, but there's all sorts of O2s all over the triangle, including some signature O2s as well. This is more than a gym. And when we say that, it goes beyond just the equipment. It goes beyond just the staff, which is incredibly friendly. There's Renew Physiotherapy. There's also Loop Nutrition. This is a whole body, renewal experience with O2fitnessclubs.com. And speaking of Rowback, the shorts, corporate champion synergy, really work out nicely. The gym shorts really work out nicely while I'm at O2. Big thanks to Breeze Through. I know that NC State is done with their home football games, which means you cannot take advantage of their very convenient tailgating option. However, hockey season and basketball season, very, very busy time for our friends at Breeze Through across from the arena. So drop on by, hit the beer cave, get gas, clean bathrooms, and a car wash.
Car wash, gas. You can park for games, get your snacks, load up for your tailgate. Breeze Through, conveniently located throughout the state where you need to be.
Big thanks to Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. There's a lot of talk about guaranteed offers in this market. Here's the thing about guaranteed offers, especially in a market like ours, that is a very hot real estate market. You are leaving money on the table. Guaranteed offer is not the maximum value you're going to get for your home. So why would you do something like that? Work with somebody truly local that understands the ins and outs of the area. And if you're trying to buy a house, understands the new construction better than anybody else. So check them out at myhtr.com. Big thanks to Sam Jones Barbecue. Check them out downtown Raleigh with Sam Jones. Great spot for lunch and dinner, obviously, but we are a couple of weeks away from Thanksgiving. So get your orders in now if you want their smoked turkey, or you just want to get a bunch of sides to make things easier for you, or something beyond Thanksgiving. You can do all sorts of office parties with real good food, not that bland, dry food you might get from some other catering company. So go to Sam Jones, ladies and gentlemen.
Holiday parties, cars. Don't be that person.
You got the full experience. Speaking of the full experience, Friday night up at the Flagg, man, UNC in Kansas.
Wow.
That was, we're too old now that folks aren't going to get the Billy Packer reference anymore. This game is over. And it just looked like North Carolina. The moment was too much for them. Flagg was rocking in a top 25 matchup, two blue bloods. Hunter Dickinson did not have to worry about Armando Bacot anymore because typically Armando Bacot got the better of those matchups. And there was some growing pains. I also think Kansas did a really good job of getting in RJ Davis's face, who struggled for most of that game. And I'll be honest with you, halftime, I'm like, all right, well, you know what? Back to the drawing board for Carolina, learning experience for them. But then the second half happened, and they got hot from the field. Did a much better job defensively on Kansas, and that thing was one shot away from going to overtime. And look, it's way too early in the basketball season to make great proclamations about what you saw. And you understand that for North Carolina defensively, they're going to have to grow as the season goes on.
Yeah.
But the fact that
they did at halftime.
Right. And the fact that they adjusted and they did not just tap out is a good sign. It's not a moral victory thing. It's a tough place to play. I get all that stuff. But at least Carolina showed you a little something in that second half against the Jayhawks with a lot of room for improvement, especially at the 5.
Their first half defensive performance was miserable.
Yes.
You can chalk some of that up to Kansas, and you want to talk about an NIL payroll. Sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah.
They got a starter from Wisconsin. That's not cheap.
Nope.
They got a starter from Alabama.
That's really not cheap.
Huh?
Yeah.
In addition to all the other players that they added and brought back, right? Like, I'm watching that game last night, and I'm like, I completely blacked out on Kansas last year. It's because they weren't good by their standard. Like, they were like a tournament team. I think they maybe even won one game, but they were not good last year.
Yeah.
They got run out of the gym by Gonzaga in the tournament. They're starting to make me question my Duke ticket. I'll put it that way. The way that they played in the first half.
Okay.
They look like the best team in the country. Okay.
I mean, but
and
again,
in the second half,
don't get, it's November basketball, Joe.
Yeah, but you can play a certain way. That's the whole point.
I get it.
They were playing at a super high level offensively in the first half of that basketball.
Let me
game.
say this real quickly before you move on. I get what you're saying about Kansas and about how they put this team together and what the season's about. But that's what you should expect out of a Kansas squad built like that right now.
No, that goes against everything that you think.
Duke,
you're adding parts.
Those are old, crusty players. With Duke, it's about
Still
the
new
development.
players.
It's the development of some freshmen, including the big one, Cooper Flagg, which we'll talk about Duke in a second. But anyway, go on.
Right. But acknowledge that you're the one who says you can't judge a team based on November because they get so many new parts that they don't know how to play together.
Fine.
So for them to score 53 points in the first half and look like the fucking Harlem Globetrotters in the process, well, yeah, that's impressive.
And I'm not
kind of hard not to get away from.
I'm not saying it's not impressive.
Now, for all of the people who do not like Hubert Davis, please stop talking. Okay? How about that? Please stop talking.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
Oh, I missed that.
At halftime. People were like, oh, and I already saw it. And it comes from strange places. I'll see it on Facebook from Carolina fans like, oh, I can't believe we decided to play this game. Second game of the year. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like,
oh, can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
This is why college basketball sucks. You play games like this now. That's the thing that gets people hyped up. Please play games like this. Duke's about to go through a stretch of playing some really tough teams. That's what I want to see. I want to see Carolina going to Flagg. I want to see Kansas going to the Smith Center. You all wonder why college basketball has fallen off is because everybody's too cowardly to play games like this.
Or
No,
play
play the
Chicago
damn
or
games.
whatever. Yeah.
Play the damn games.
But people, just as people look for excuses to be mad at Dave Doeren, Carolina fans look for excuses to be mad at Hubert Davis. So at halftime of this game, it was, we're never going to be a lead ever again.
Yeah.
He can't recruit. He can't coach. He can't do this. For him to get his players to respond in the way that they did in halftime, in real time in that game, and to defend in the way that they did, and to play the way that they did. And I got really bad news for you people. You're going to have to square this and square it right now. Jalen Withers is super important to your basketball team. And I know you're still mad at him about Alabama last year. And I get it. He'll still do some dumb shit. But you better square it and square it quickly. He's a really important part of what your team does. Thought in the second half of this game, not only did they defend well, you started to see Withers and Trimble, who are two guys that, quite frankly, I look at and go, ooh, you're kind of in trouble if you're leaning on them. But the truth of the matter is they're older players. They're ones that you need. Defensively, I thought Jalen Washington just being able to be on the floor is what's going to be important for Carolina. It is jarring to me. Roy Williams wasn't at this game. Jay Williams was calling him out for not being there, but it is jarring to me to watch Carolina play without depth at the big position. It's hard for me to watch them without two bigs on the floor. Man, it was weird watching Van Allen Lubin play the 5. Van Allen Lubin's like 6'8". Okay. They are not a big team. And Washington's not a bus driver. I got bad news for you. Baycott wasn't either. He was a garbage man. So I love the way that they played in the second half. RJ didn't exactly get that thing going. Again, it was Trimble and Withers. RJ is going to have better days. I would be ecstatic if I was Carolina leaving this basketball game because you got to put in your mouth in the first half of that game.
Not in your ear?
Not in your ear. That was straight in your mouth in the first half of that basketball game. And for them to respond the way that they did from their coach, That's what you're looking for. And that's going to give you a chance going forward. Because I got news for you. RJ Davis ain't going to be 3 of 15 in many games going forward.
No, he's not.
RJ Davis, here's another one for you to square. RJ Davis is your Peyton Wilson. NC State won a bunch of football games in 2023 because they had an NFL player in his 6th year playing college football.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to win a bunch of games this year because RJ Davis is an NBA player playing college basketball in his 5th year for Carolina. So I would take all of those things that I saw in the second half and I would wrap my arms around them and I would be ecstatic about what you have going forward because Kansas, super legit.
All right, I need you to square this for me. Did Cooper Flagg just not sign an endorsement deal with Gatorade?
He did.
So how is it that Cooper Flagg is already having cramping problems in the first 2 regular season games for Duke? To the point where John Shire said in the post game, we got to get this figured out.
Both of those games were at Cameron, right?
Yes.
I mean,
turn the air conditioner on.
There's been times in my life. I mean, like 3 of the 5 hottest days of my life have been spent in Cameron Indoor Stadium.
That's fair.
I'll give you that if you're not used to it. They've had cramping issues before. Was it Banchero who had the cramping issues?
Paolo had in the first month of the season. I was actually texting with Steve Wiseman about this because that was one of those games that I only saw the box score and I saw they ran away with it. And but then I also look at Cooper Flagg. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I missing? And of course, you've got the cramping stuff. As Steve pointed out, they had the same issues with Paolo Banchero in terms of cramping, and they got figured out after about a month. Yeah, who knows? Maybe it is as simple as it's hot at Cameron, and you got to get used to it, and you'll go from there. I mean, Duke's got the money, they got the resources, they got a really good staff. They'll get that stuff figured out, and they better figure it out quickly because again, they're going into a stretch of basketball games, pretty high level basketball games, and a lot of eyes will be on them. And the other reason I was going to bring up Duke because I saw this floating around from a buddy of mine. It's related to the Kansas North Carolina game. So Kansas and North Carolina just put on an epic second half. 1 shot away from hitting overtime. Who knows where the hell it goes? And on Saturday morning, what are we getting? We ain't getting highlights about the Kansas Carolina game.
There was a promo and there was a clock malfunction early in the second half of that game too. And they had a promo, like a cutaway promo to a dunk.
Yep.
Here's a graphic already. And I was like, if I was a Carolina fan, I would not be happy with it.
It is a repeat of the Zion year, man. It does not matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're actually having a great game. You are there to promote all things Cooper Flagg and Duke. And I understand where Carolina fans are coming from. It's like now you know what NC State fans feel like when it's Duke Carolina week. It's like, there's other things going. The greatest rivalry. Rah, rah, rah. Yeah, but guys, we're playing Wake Forest.
It always delivers.
I mean, yeah. Technically it does. So anyway, I hope you all I think everybody really got a taste on Friday night about what this year is going to be about. It's all Zion.
I was disappointed
all the time
in the placement on the calendar there, that game. It was such a great game. It felt like March, looked like March, but ESPN2 kind of randomly on a Friday night. It just,
Friday night's not a great time.
It was just kind of exemplified all of college basketball's early season problems. And I know like tonight or tomorrow night, they have the big Champions Classic that somehow includes Tom Izzo for their big display on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just felt like that game deserved a little bit better.
Shout out to Wake Forest. Got the win over Michigan last night. And so far, I know that Luke DeCock wrote about this in his News and Observer, and I joked about it last week. But so far, the ACC has been okay. They haven't suffered any sort of like bizarro early season November loss that allows. Are you going to give me the Louisville game?
No, not Louisville.
Or
Georgia Tech lost to North Florida.
Or the Georgia Tech game. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing that I would point out, though, because the issue that I don't think it's too early to start talking about now.
North Florida is 139 in KenPom. So
this is something that I think is, if we can talk about this rationally, because knowing what we know about how the discourse will be the rest of the season, all you're asking out of the ACC in November is for, honestly, the floor of the league to not completely tank how conference play gets compiled.
Yeah.
That's all you're asking. And that includes the newbies, by the way. That includes SMU. That includes Cal. That includes Stanford. Not exactly your your basketball blue bloods, right? In these three schools that they added. SMU is kind of funny, which kind of transitions us to college football here. SMU can be a force multiplier for good and for bad, right? So it's great that SMU is holding their own in the ACC for football, and they're now in first place of the ACC, and we're headed towards a Miami SMU championship game, clearly. But SMU also will allow people to say, wow, here's this football program that came from the group of five that nobody would take. You take them they're not taking any money outside the success initiatives, and they could potentially win your league in year one. You know how that's going to play out. You absolutely know how it's going to play out. And obviously, when we get to basketball, it'll play out that way very similarly. But so far with ACC football or with ACC hoops, I haven't seen anything that is completely like, oh my goodness, it's time to hit the panic button.
Topics, stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
And finally, in the lightning round, the Carolina Hurricanes, they weren't going to run the entire table. I mean, they were going to lose at some point.
They had to, right?
No. It was ripe. Colorado, they've gotten some wins that in the classic Rod Brindamore. I go back to the Philadelphia game last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Where it was kind of a sloppy game. Peter Kochetkov wasn't completely on his A game. And you rely on the guy who's been the story of the season so far, Marty Natchez, to help you win. Last night, things started off pretty evenly, but Spencer Martin had a bad period he'd like back. Was it 5 goals in the second period?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Rod probably wants his challenge back. And it's like all the check marks of what you want. Did you give up a bad shorthanded goal? Yes. Was there a complete goalie losing oil in Spencer Martin? Yes. Okay. And then the challenge didn't go Rod's way, which had him salty after the game. I have the quotes, that's a black and white rule. I don't know what the issue is, blah, 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 blah. But we are not going to do the get super, super high for the wins and get super, super down for a loss. The streak was eventually going to end. It happens that way. But I will say this about my only point I'll make about the Carolina Hurricanes and where they are through October and the early parts of November here. They are ahead of schedule. They are a team that we've seen what they're capable of. The question is health in combination with banking on the fact that everybody else will still get comfortable with what Rod is doing, and all of this will continue in an upward trajectory. Could they win the division? I went from thinking they can't win the division and that this is a team that will make the playoffs without winning the division, which is fine. But now I'm looking at how they started. They're still in, like all this sort of stuff. Yeah. This is a team that could win the division. So good for the Canes. Hell of a start. They were going to lose at some point. It ain't that big of a deal that they lost to Colorado. Big thanks to Nature's Relief. Check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. Maybe for NC State football fans, you're going to need some Nature's Relief for the rest of the season. Maybe you're going to stay at home, watch that game at Chapel Hill, melt it on your couch. That's the only way to take it in. Just saying. And then call the sports phone. Tell me how that goes for you. Look, you got questions, they got answers at Nature's Relief. They have somebody there very, very knowledgeable that can help you from something like, let's take some anxiety off. Let's get some better sleep. Or, you know what? I just want to recreationally have a good time. They have everything there for you at Nature's Relief. And after you pick up the good stuff, you go to Two Roosters on your way home. Ooh. Because something tells me that after you've taken a gummy and that thing's kicking in, you're going to be like, I know. Nate, I need my Two Roosters. And I don't know, maybe with family coming to town for Thanksgiving and you got chocolate chip pie waiting for you. Order it. Let's go. And then go to town on it. Two Roosters, tworoosters.com.
3 spots in the arena now too, man.
I had the Slave and Sunday last week. I told you about that.
I know. Toffee tracks, Stormy tracks still remain the most popular item in the arena. But you know what? They're all delicious.
Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Bugsbite.com is the website. You can bundle and save with our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Weather's been up and down all over the place as it gets colder. They're going to have some critters coming in. Make sure you get that handled. And of course, our friends at the Butcher's Market, they sponsor the OG mailbag, which you get every Friday. And then they can make sure that your holiday event is catered, because that's where the Butcher's Market is right now. Check them out online, thebutchersmarkets.com. You get prepared meals, you get sandwiches, you get stuff to make on your own, but we are clearly in entertainment season, and the Butcher's Market can be your one-stop shop for that.
Give you a real-time update of the tiebreaker, because you said we were headed towards SMU and Miami.
Yeah.
You're forgetting that Clemson still only has one loss in the league, even though they have 2 overall.
I know.
The tiebreak will ultimately come down to your conference opponent's record, combined record. Are you ready for what it is right now on November 11th?
What is it now?
Miami's opponents are 21-28, which is better than Clemson's 19-29. Do you know one of the differentiators right now?
I do not.
Miami played Duke, who improved to 3-3 in the league. Clemson played NC State, who fell to 2-4 in the league. Yeah.
Yep. That's pretty funny.
Yep.
Is that a combination of Clemsoning and NC State shit combining for this superpower?
They both played FSU. Strike, right?
Oh, speaking of Florida State, because I know the news of the day is that Mike Norvell's doing the thing to keep the Wolves at bay. They fired their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator.
And you saw who was elevated to defensive coordinator.
No, I didn't see who.
Randy Shannon.
Oh, really?
Former Miami head coach.
I forgot he was there, honestly. And look,
That's why I sent you the story. I have the name.
I have no ill will with Randy Shannon.
No.
So all I know is that if SMU wins the ACC in year 1 with taking no money, and Florida State finishes bottomed out, firing coaches and everything, please, SMU, please take the check that's given to you from the Success Initiative. I want you to call Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner, right now and say, hey, don't make that check out to us. Just donate it to Florida State.
Send it to Drew Weatherford. He needs it.
Because we don't. We're good.
We did check in with the ACC and confirmed, yes, SMU is not taking television revenue for the first however many years of the contract.
6 years or something like that.
However, they are eligible for college football playoff money that they earn and the Success Initiative, because remember, it's basically like a $5 million pot for winning the league.
They don't need it.
Well, they get it.
They don't need it. Give it to Florida State.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
We got a lot of calls. I'm going to see how many we can run through before Giglio gets completely bored. This is from a 704 number.
Fire and I. That's it.
It's quick and to the point. Appreciate that. This is from a 919 number.
Well, I called in last week and said, let's see if and I can do it again. This might be the single worst called game I've ever watched. And that's saying something for NC State. I don't even care that the game's not over. This is an unwatchable game. We'll see. Let's go Pack. Get some more wins. See ya.
The play calling was miserable.
I just love I love the dejected sigh. Let's go Pack. Okay.
Dave Doeren needs to be fired now. This is ridiculous. Take your second time out in the second half to preserve a 22-yard field goal when a daggum delay game will give you a 27-yard field goal. Are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. Year 12 and nothing to show. We are awful. Dave needs to go.
It's from a 9.
Yeah, I should have mentioned the timeout management when I think that's kind of implied when I say he's not a great game manager.
Yeah. This is from a 910 number.
All right, it's 9:48 left in the game, and our red zone offense has been so shitty up until this point. And once you believe it, there's a damn sack. Once you believe it, I have no words. Not as a terrorist. Dave Doeren needs to be fired. The Wolfpack has broken my spirit.
I can't believe that happened in real time.
That's amazing.
It's from a 919.
What's up, OG? This is Brandon. I don't know what the fuck to do anymore. Matter of fact, business proposition. Can we take the NIL money and give it to Tom Dundon so we can build all the cool shit for the Cane sooner? I mean,
Oh.
never mind. I can't be funny. My baby's crying. Bye. Love the show.
A full range of emotions right there.
I might cry.
Send us your baby pictures.
Brandon, email us. We'll send a breaking tea
That would
kid
be-
tea.
Yeah, that would be such a life coach.
Yeah, please
Send us your baby.
send us an email. I will try to find a breaking tea kid shirt.
If not, Two Roosters has a onesie. That's that's like my go-to.
Yeah.
Current gift right now.
Do that.
David from Smithfield.
Yes, David from Smithfield calling in. You know it's bad when David Smithfield's calling in.
So let me get this straight, Giglio and Ovies. This is supposed to be the best NC State team we've had in years. We're going to end up losing to Wake Forest, Duke, most likely Carolina, and no bowl game, most likely. People say, well, you don't want, state fans want to be Alabama. Can we beat Indiana, Giglio? Can we beat Indiana?
There's a lot of Indiana sentiment out there.
There
and I
is.
get it.
I
Kurt
get it.
Signetti, former NC State assistant. I will tell you this, in the category of life is not fair, right? ECU a few years ago decided, we really should go hire the coach from James Madison. They get him. You see the results. This year, Indiana goes, we're going to go hire the coach from James Madison. He brings 23 players with him.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he can coach a little bit. Their schedule is a little bit of a mirage. I would be careful with Indiana, even though
not the point.
They are going to make the playoff.
Right.
They're going to get their doors blown off by Ohio State.
Doesn't matter.
But that does not matter because they're going to go 11-1, sit at home, not play in the Big Ten championship, and then show up in the playoff, play in the first round. I think it was their first 10-win season ever.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations to Kurt Signetti and what he's done.
Another 910 number.
Fuck that motherfucker.
Whoa.
Are you kidding me? Year 12, unprepared, guys not catching the ball, running QB runs on 3rd and fucking 20. It's unbelievable. We can't stand for this shit anymore. 12 years playing, they got $5 million a year to suck ass. You got to be fucking kidding me. Fuck Dave Doeren. Fire that motherfucker. Joe and Joe, get on your horse and fire that bitch. You piece of shit. I love y'all's fucking show. But Dave doesn't deserve to be here any fucking more. What a waste of assets. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him.
Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
I love your podcast. Fuck that guy. Whew. All right.
I was coming in hard in the paint right there.
That was
hard in the paint.
Our entire coaching staff just needs to be fired at this point. That the red zone production has been atrocious. Our defense left everything out on the field, and our offense does nothing but sputter, and the QB sneaks up the middle for four quarters. If that isn't coaching malpractice, I don't know what is. All the promise, all the hope, everything we had going into the season, washed down the drain. Again, just like last year, just like the year before. NC State will never have anything.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to take a half a step.
Okay, from a 336 number.
Hey guys, long time listener, first time caller. I went to NC State, got a couple degrees there from the Triangle. I don't really care that Dave Doeren has maxed out at 9 wins. We are who we are. Football is really more about tailgating. What I do care about is getting our ass kicked by Wake Forest and Duke every fucking year. Like, this is just ridiculous. Like, we beat the worst Carolina team ever and Dave beats his chest. But then we lose to these dog shit Wake and Duke teams. Are you kidding me? It's just tiring. It hasn't been fun for how many years now? 2, 3. Yeah. Hopefully it retires.
This is from, I don't have a number attached to this, but I think they renamed themselves called Yao's Repair and Parts. I don't know if this is a joke or if there's an actual Yao's Repair and Parts out there.
My name is Bradley, and I'm from Lillington. And first off, Joe, thanks for mentioning Carrie Band Day. All the state's bands have kind of gone down a little bit in recent years. But anyway, Dave just...
All right, hold on. Whoa. We got hot band takes? Please, Bradley, call back. Please call the Sportsman back. I need to know your thoughts on Carrie Band Day and how there's been a drop in the band. Now, if you want to tell me that bands have gotten a little too more Broadway rather than traditional marching
They gotten
bands.
soft, Joe. They need to get their hand in the dirt.
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. There's way too much performance art than there is actual marching.
Need to get their trombone in the slide.
This is why Dave might need to be in the hot seat. He really can't coach when state's down bad. And part 2 to this is we're worried about our team leaving. We don't need to worry about anybody trying to get bought because state's full of 3-star people. What you saw on the field today versus Duke is what happens to 3-star people. People want freshmen to come in and do what Trevor Lawrence and Alabama's quarterbacks always do and win. Or Tennessee's quarterback is a prime example. True freshman beating the brakes off everybody, not throwing a bunch of interceptions or dropping the ball everywhere. So I think state's probably safe from their key players leaving. Thank you.
No. Well, it's funny.
Well, Tennessee's not a true freshman, but it's fine.
It's funny. This is actually back in. It's funny how these phone calls came back to back about players leaving and all that stuff. This is from a 919.
All right, state fans, here's a little tell me something good. CJ Bailey might not get taken, and you guys might have him next year, so don't worry. All right, this sucks. Carolina.
From a 910 number.
Look, Dave can say what he wants to say, but I guarantee you that he's not outbeating Duke, Wake Forest, and Syracuse in NIL money. It comes down to coaching. We have plenty of NIL money. It's time to make a change. Let's go Wolfpack, and let's make the pack back. Come on, Dave. Fire Dave! He sucked the life out of everything!
It's aggressive.
From a 704.
What's up, dudes? Love the show. I once again dropped off my kids about 5 minutes left in the Duke game to go on a date with my wife. So I was much happier than probably most people for the last 5 minutes. On paper, looks like it was a bad time to end it. But right now I'm watching the Holy War, and these guys are having fun, and I miss having fun. And hopefully fun times are coming soon. And yeah. Anyway.
I love the dejected. Yeah.
Anyway.
For 919.
Hey, I'm a Carolina fan, and I just wanted to say I feel so bad for y'all, state fan. I'm just sick to my stomach after seeing how difficult that game was, and I just want you guys to know that I'm here to help you out. I'm here to support you guys.
This is a long. What's going on here? This thing went for 38 seconds. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going.
Just kidding.
I guess I can't delete this, huh?
All right, last one. Last one. This is another like incredibly long voicemail. I'm curious where this one goes.
Look, you guys are not the best radio station or the best podcast in the world. All right? I'm going to just get that out there. But you are probably my favorite one to listen to because your knowledge of the local sports scene and also the national sports scene is very insightful. It's always spot on, and you guys aren't afraid to put out there what you truly feel. My problem with you guys is that you do not hate on Dave enough. The fact that that guy has been here for 12 years. Let me
emphasize that. 12 years. Do you know how long 12 years is? 12 years is so long ago. So long ago, Obama was still the president. That's crazy. 12 years ago. That being said, this guy has given us nothing in 12 years. Whoop-de-whoop on his 9-game seasons when he beat everybody that we were supposed to beat. Nobody we weren't. We finally beat Clemson when they were having a down year. Whoop-de-doo. What has that guy done for us? And we're paying him $5 million a year to do what? Not to mention the $2 million plus we have on our roster this year. I mean, we are giving this guy more than enough, right? And he hires coordinators and all that. I don't see the point because he has his hands in everything and it doesn't work. He handcuffs his coordinators. He handcuffs his staff. Dude, this guy is worthless. He needs to go. He needs to move on. Just retire. I don't care what you do. Go move to your lake and go catch some bass. You know, I mean, you had your day with Lane Kiffin. Maybe spend some more time with him and figure it out. You know, look what he's done. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, but you guys need to put it out there. This is getting old. Like, the fact he's still here, the fact he still has a leash is unbelievable. And I need to see more of this from the OG because I really like you guys' podcast. I like what you say. I like your content, but there is not enough hate towards Dave. We need to get it out there. He needs to be gone. And it's sickening. You know, I spend all this money during the fall to go tailgate and go to these games just to be disappointed. And it's not the fact that we lose. You know, losing's not okay, but it's the way we lose. There is no competition. There is no competitiveness at all. I mean, absolutely decimated by Tennessee. Absolutely throttled by Clemson. You know, okay, I'm not saying we should be on par with Tennessee, but Clemson, like, you know, we should be able to compete there. And I mean, we get smoked by Wake Forest. We get smoked by Duke. You know, you say what you want, but we're not in either of those games for the most part. We're just destroyed.
And he got cut off.
Mm-hmm.
He got cut off. Yeah, I think it had followed, but I'll save that for tomorrow. We have more sports phone calls. We had more coming in this morning.
People are mad.
Yeah,
I get it.
Look, I will say this, and maybe we can spend some more time talking about this tomorrow in Hey Joe, because I'm sure we'll get some more response to today's show and what we had to say. I understand that caller's point when it comes to how we talk about Dave Doeren. And much like we had talked about Kevin Keats last year, there is understanding fan frustration and then trying to explain to y'all how the real world works.
Right.
Money, who the AD is, all the things that kind of go in.
Same conversation applies.
It really is the same conversation. Yeah. And if anything, Dave gets more of a benefit of a doubt, like you said at the beginning of the show, related to how he's had success and what the floor is versus where the floor was when he first started.
It's also relative to the school's history.
It is. It is all relative. And that's why I think Boo and Dave will have and that's why it kind of informs how I talk about Dave. And I want to be abundantly clear when I say this. I understand where fans are coming from. And as I stated at the beginning, you can't sit here and be salty about fans and how to fan and all this other stuff when all the fans ask you to do is to take care of business against schools like freaking Duke, which you're now 1-3. Okay? I totally get that. But I think the one thing that you and I have to be consistent on when it comes to matters like this is not doing everybody's got to get fired. No, there's a reality to how these things work. And that helps you understand why things play out the way that they do rather than waving the magic wand. Like Indiana. Like, why is Indiana doing that? Well, let's understand why Indiana's doing it.
And I'll say this, and I get the Indiana thing. I want to see what they do next year when you don't have 23 guys to bring from JMU. Now, maybe he goes and takes another job and takes 23 players from Indiana to the next job. Maybe he does that.
Maybe. Did he break the code?
Right. But yeah, he might say, like Keats did, don't I get 37? Don't I get 101 years to win 10 games again?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
That's not the reality of the new NIL era.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, not knocking what they've done, but I would like to see him do it again.
Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We got plenty more to get into tomorrow. More sports phone calls as well. We'll see you then.